Welcome back on Media Dialogues. I'm talking to Prabjeet Singh, the president of Uber India and in charge of the mobility business for Uber in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka as well. Prabjeet, you're one of two large players in this country. Between Uber India and Ola, I'm guessing you'll have the market to yourselves largely, even though there are other players. The question is, what is the brand distinction today? Because let me speak to you now as a customer. I use Uber Go and Ola Mini very frequently for my office commutes, okay? And I find that the drivers invariably offer both the services, right? So they have both the apps. So it doesn't matter to me at the end of the day that driver exchange doesn't really give me a brand experience because it could be Ola or Uber. So how does the brand stand out? Why is the brand distinct? What are you relying on to create a brand experience?
When it comes to brand, we believe that the brand promise will follow the service promise. The service promise has three pillars: affordability, safety, and reliability. We need to make sure that we are providing and meeting the consumer expectations on all three, and that is what will make the difference in when you open and you have a choice, and you will have choice of not just one app, but you will have choice of multiple apps. It's a very competitive market. Why you should choose Uber will be if you know that each time when you request the vehicle comes on time. If there's an issue, you are able to resolve it through support, and it is a price which you are comfortable with and which is predictable. Now, we are very much obsessed with getting the core service quality right. The brand promise further amplifies the core service promise, and for us, our brand promise gives us the real edge when we combine the global brand which Uber stands for, which is stands for an inclusive, enabling brand which really ignites opportunities for millions of drivers and earners and millions of consumers, and combine that with the core ethics and the core ethos of India. So, for example, recently we did a pretty big campaign to promote our three-wheeler and two-wheeler service. It was a campaign which was inspired by real-life stories of consumers. Not consumers necessarily like you and I, but consumers who use this service. They are inspired by stories of, for example, a bride who wanted to find a way to obviously fulfill her professional commitments combined with her personal commitments.
So, Prabjeet,
I think that brand comes together in a very unique.
So that's the communication of the brand. But the experience of the brand, if the cars at the end of the day are shared between different apps, and if the apps have more or less similar interfaces and technologies, how does it really matter to me whether I'm driving Uber or Ola, and should that not matter to you?
At the end of the day, the drivers and the service they are providing is face of Uber. We are the technology which is only empowering them. So there are two ways we are looking to address that. Anuradha, the first thing is we consistently believe that choice which the drivers have is something we absolutely embrace and celebrate. We don't put any constraint that the driver has to drive only on Uber, etc., etc. I think that is what the core proposition of a gig work and independent work is. But what we are beginning to see, and this is where I would urge you to each time ask that question to the driver, the same driver, because of the standards which the Uber platform is setting, because it's a community of drivers and riders, we set very explicit standards and expect certain service quality. Often we expect the same driver to behave differently. Make sure that they are following those standards and guidelines. I don't want to comment on other competitors in the market. And that is which plays out in a combination of technology solutions and operations solutions which we have rolling out. I'll give you a simple example. We are running a pilot in some of the cities on how do we make sure that the driver has full visibility on where the trip is, where the destination for the consumer is. We are also working on multiple ways to make sure that the driver gets compensated for long pickups. If our technology is able to make the estimate more accurately, the driver consistently will want to then drive with us. He or she will then want to make sure that when a consumer from Uber comes, the experience is actually far better than on any other platform. The driver also knows that we have his or her back. So the driver knows that if there is a conflict for whatever reason, there is a argument, there will be support channels available to them. So I think combination of these factors. The other thing which we also do with drivers is, for example, invest in their well-being, which, for example,
I know you've done gender sensitization and, eye testing and vision, support for drivers. So are you saying, Prabjeet, that if I book the same car and driver via Uber versus another app, I will get a different experience?
We aspire for that, Anuradha. This does not happen all the time, but through the processes of the way we engage with the drivers, we actually spend crazy amount of time listening to drivers. So, for example, we have a driver advisory council. These are 40 drivers across 6 cities who meet us periodically. They look at what is being developed as product solutions, give us feedback, we incorporate. We hold listening sessions. We often drive ourselves. I, for example, every 6 months take the wheels myself and drive to get feedback. And then we work to make the driver experience better. And these small iterations which we keep doing make an incredible difference eventually.
Create the Uber brand as distinct from the other.
And that's why you can see that shows up in terms of why we have been able to kind of scale our business, why we've been able to today attract a much larger proportion of drivers and riders than any other platform in the market.
The amount that you take from the drivers is pretty much uniform between both the both the market leaders, and even the transactions are the time duration you take to settle transactions is the same. So for them, I'm curious about what the incentive would be.
And Anuradha, I think exactly to a consumer, what you see is only 1% of what happens, which is what happens in the physical world. Behind the scenes, remember, Uber is operating in more than 60 countries. We have upwards of 3 million drivers globally, which means we are constantly iterating our products and services. There's an innovation in Latin America, which we have found working great. We quickly bring it to India, the same way we take innovations from India to global markets. And that makes our scale a real strength. We are able to then create different experiences on all these factors across the board. And that's why you can see that also in the pace at which we are growing in the market.
We know that in India, you have large teams working that are supporting the tech operations for Uber in many parts of the world. So Uber globally. Give me a sense of what that, how that works.
So Anuradha, India is not just an incredibly exciting long-term market for us. It's also a source for innovation where things being piloted in India are being taken globally and in a very large talent hub. We have more than 2,200 employees in India. Majority of them are actually engineers who are building end-to-end tech solutions for the world. There are 13 different programs which are being supported from our Bangalore and Hyderabad tech centers. We are accelerating our hiring in the country for engineers. And they are not just working on micro solutions which are not visible. They actually got full end-to-end responsibility. So for example, high-capacity vehicles we spoke about. The entire tech stack is being built in India. We spoke about WhatsApp to Ride, which is, again, a global first innovation. The entire solution, the user experience, the data science work, the core product design is happening by our tech leadership and tech teams in Bangalore and Hyderabad. So you'll expect that this will lead to a benefit for the India market, of course, but also the power of Indian tech talent, which is just incredible, will become a real source of competitive advantage for us globally.
Right. Prabjeet, I'm going to have to let you go, close this here. I know, there's so much to talk about, gig workers, drivers, employees. I know globally that debate is on, but we'll park that for another time, I think. Thank you very much for coming into our studio here in Mumbai, and I wish you and the entire team at Uber a lot of good luck.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. Look out for another conversation that looks at business through the top line lens on Media Dialogues here on CNBC TV 18.